swear the chicks is thicker. Reppin' for the team, that's the bench of Houston sippers. She don't want your liquor, she don't want your chipper. She poppin' for a legend, that's a real massa flipper. This is for la raza, this is for la raza. I'm in my trap, casa whipping up the damn massa.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the What Did He Said podcast.
What did he say?
We are back at it with a new motherfucking episode. Give it up for Rob, the producer.
Hey, everybody.
Marisol, my vieja.
Hi.
Babe,
I almost feel like the song for the intro should be What Did He Say? Almost like a Bieber, like little beat.
Go pop with it. What did he say?
We gotta, dude, you gotta do a song for the podcast.
What did he say?
Right? It'd be hilarious. Should be.
I love the
something-
beeps.
Yeah.
The Beebster.
It's actually not a bad idea.
Just as I just that's what I felt like singing right now when I heard What Did He Said podcast.
Is episode 100 video up?
The video's not up.
I
The
wanna
audio's
see
up.
it. Yeah, I can't wait to see it. Shout out to everybody that came out to the first live motherfucking recorded in person, in the flesh podcast in Houston, Texas. What better city to set it off in, man. Set it off in the H. Shout out to everybody who came out. The episode was pretty good. We were a little bit nervous. I ain't gonna lie.
I wasn't. Okay, so here's what I was nervous about is there's a difference between talking here within us and we're kind of having a convo.
And people staring at you.
And then people staring at us having a convo.
Be funny.
You know what I'm saying? So I didn't know what they were expecting for us to do. Like, were we supposed to be hype? Were we supposed to be like just ourselves? Like, I didn't know what they were expecting, and I didn't know what to expect from them either. You know? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta, you always gotta remember like the size of the crowd, size of the room. When it's like Saturday night lit, everybody's been pre-partying, like they show up crunk, then it's definitely gonna be that crunk type of vibe. But it's like Thursday, we just got off of work. Some of us still, struggle, finding parking, stragglers. It's gonna be a different type of vibe.
So
But out there, we have the Blackhawks going over us. Over here by the Air Force Base and shit. Shout out to Corpus Christi. I was just out there and I seen a whole bunch of Black Hawk helicopters. Because I didn't know they work on them out there.
I didn't either.
That's like the main employer out there. Like the main job is them working on the helicopters.
The more you know.
So what were you saying? Before the helicopters interrupted you? Huh?
I don't know.
So
Long day already.
R.I.P. Juice WRLD. You heard about the rapper from Chicago?
Yeah. I wasn't too familiar with his work until I actually saw, I looked him up. I was like, oh, okay.
I just knew one song that was like real catchy, like
It's the only one I
singing.
knew about either.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know he sang it until you told me.
Yeah, and then I saw him freestyling like for hours on YouTube. I was like, oh shit, he's like rapping for real. He's freestyling for real. It wasn't just like melodic stuff. Supposedly, according to TMZ, I think that's who it was.
That's
I
our
think
source.
It was TMZ. Well, supposedly, man, I'm not too sure where I got all this info, but like they were on a private jet, you know how rappers do, with the entourage, and supposedly the pilot snitched and was like, man, I think some of these dudes got weapons, or I smell dope, or something, right? As they're landing in the Chicago airport, feds and everybody already waiting for them. So now they're like, shit, some shit's going down. Homeboy decides to like eat a bunch of pills so he wouldn't get caught with them. I don't know how many he ate, but supposedly like had a seizure there at the airport and then later pronounced dead.
Damn, I didn't know that.
Yeah, supposedly they found like 37 pounds of weed. There's no telling where they flew in from.
Wow.
But supposedly that's been like a little hustle, man. The whole private plane hustle is, supposedly because you're not having to go through TSA, people be finessing like that. It's like having your own... It's like the cocaine cowboy days.
Yeah.
It's like having your own private thing. Like nobody fucks with you. They're not checking to see what you went to do in Panama, why you got so much luggage all of a sudden.
That's a good point. I never thought of that. That's smart.
But they be catching on sometimes. According to my news, how I gathered it, that's what happened.
According to Alex Jones.
Yeah.
InfoWars.
Yeah. So R.I.P. to Juice WRLD. And it's unfortunate that people are really fucking with pills and opiates and stuff, whether it's pharmaceutical or the worst shit is the black market stuff with the fentanyl in it. That's how Mac Miller and Prince and a couple other people died. But
what a dark note to start the podcast
Yeah, no.
on.
You know what's funny though? Speaking of pills and all that, You know when they had the D.A.R.E, I think I've said this before on the show, when they had the D.A.R.E program at school, in elementary school.
Dude, they're still kicking around out there.
Okay, well.
Yeah, they be posted up outside.
I was that one student that was terrified when they talked about what drugs do to you and how they fry your brain, remember? So, like, yeah, I never was tempted to try drugs. Like, it just wasn't.
Those commercials are so stupid.
It wasn't the commercials. They'd brought, like, someone to, to school, like, that had, I think I told you, it was weed. It was weed.
Said,
this guy,
weed and now I'm all fucked up.
Well, he was like drooling from his mouth. I remember it vividly, and he was in a wheelchair, and I was like, "Shit, we did all that." I mean, now I know weed doesn't do that to you. He must have been on something else. It
they
couldn't
rolled
have
in
been
a guy
weed.
that had a stroke.
And then in high school, right? Here's now the drinking part, still the D.A.R.E program type thing. But now they had this woman who was a lawyer, right? And she was supposed to be the designated driver for her girlfriends they were in college, right? And so they were going to a concert. She was a designated driver. And her friends were like, come on, just have one wine cooler. Wine cooler on top of that. We all know that wine coolers have like nothing. Mm-hmm. So here's what happened. She had a wine cooler, right? And then it was time for them to leave. She drove. Well, the Honda that they were in, like, malfunctioned. So, but because she was drinking and because she was over the drinking limit off of that one wine cooler, she was charged with manslaughter because her best friend and her boyfriend died in the back.
What did she run into? How
she kind of lost control of the car, and so it spun and they hit a tree.
Ooh.
And so her and the other girl in the front seat survived, but the friends in the back, right, her best friend and the boyfriend, they had seatbelts, but their heads hit. So their heads, you know what I'm saying, with the collision, their heads collided together, and that's how they died. You know what I'm saying? So they literally had like banged their heads, and they were out. So
this was at a D.A.R.E speaker in your high school?
in my high school, yeah. So imagine that. She was a lawyer now.
But she was anti-alcohol.
She has, for the rest of her life, she has to go around high schools speaking about drinking and driving for the rest of her life.
I wonder if she's like dialing it in at this point. All right, kids, listen up.
She's still, at the time, so this was...
I'm telling y'all this because I have to.
No, she like, I don't know if she... Okay, so she cried during the thing. So, I mean, I don't know if like... It's part of her speech, right?
She's like, I need to work on that outro.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Now that I'm here
she
at
has notes, like my tears were natural.
Yeah.
I felt connected to my script.
I don't know if that's, you know what I'm saying, if that's the case or whatever, but it was crazy because as she was telling the story, so when she got married, because she was still on the ankle monitor, her wedding had to end at 10 before 10 p.m. she had to be home. So she got married and her wedding had to end. So she had to leave her own wedding, right, at 9:30 p.m. because she needed to be home by 10 p.m. due to her anklet,
Can
right?
you imagine a groom that was like dating this chick? She's like, oh, by the way, something I need to tell you. I always got to be home by 10 because of this. And she like raises up her... Oh, okay. No, it's cool. It's cool.
She has to blow into her car for the rest of her life also. So she's not going to...
For the rest of her life?
For the rest of her life. Off of a wine cooler. And really, this was more because they were best friends though since kindergarten. Can you imagine that? She says she has no problem doing it because she said she'll never have her best friend again. Oof. And she says that's the only way she feels like, you know, she's...
But it was the car's fault, right?
I know. It was the car's fault.
Oh, the car malfunctioned?
The car malfunctioned. And it was actually some kind of like recall.
I know why she became a lawyer, because she needed a good one back then. She's like, man, if I'd have just had a good fucking lawyer, they'd have been like, hey, man.
Honda.
She took all the punishment because basically she was which I understand. Her best friend's mom did not want to see her at the funeral. So she didn't get to go to her best friend's funeral. And so, you know, she's basically just broken for the rest of her life. But she said she felt like there was no punishment enough for what she did. And she was like, so she was okay with doing these things for the rest of her life. It's a lesson that she had to learn. And so she, I guess, obviously beat herself up. This was in 2000, you know. We were about to graduate high school, so it was like something that they did as you're going on into, you know, which is crazy because later on when I was...
did she smell like wine coolers?
Took
Damn,
an Uber.
that's fucked up.
Is she slurring? Hey, and y'all don't be like me, okay?
And it's
Fucking
when people are
drinking
like,
shit.
do you have any questions? You know, at the end, how they do a little Q&A. I had no
You're all,
questions.
what flavor was it?
What brand?
Yeah.
Corona has a good one.
So do you like White Claw?
Truly?
So yeah, I felt pretty. That was pretty. So what I'm saying is, those little things where it was like, man, obviously look at how much detail I still remember
Yeah,
from a fucking
vivid.
D.A.R.E talk. You know, so I've been one of those impacted students.
Well, shit, I be asking them though. I'm like, so what's y'all stance on marijuana? Considering they're like, well, we've updated our propaganda. I mean,
So funny enough, there was a D.A.R.E. We went to like whatever, I think Academy or something in Sugar Land, and there was a D.A.R.E. booth or table set up right between two of the stores that Don and I were about to walk into, and both of us were fucking degenerates. So we're just like, oh god, I don't want to talk to these people, right? So we just kind of like went around, and someone else got to talk to them first. It's like cool. Walked out, and they were like, but we just like walked around, didn't even say anything. But she was talking to another lady, and the first thing she said was, well, our stances have changed. We've updated a lot of our views on things, but I didn't hear any of it. So what have they changed as far as?
I don't recall
I don't
exactly,
know.
but I think they maybe are like a little bit more lenient towards the marijuana.
Yeah, because I'm
The
telling
ganja.
you, in 5th grade when they came, I mean, as you're going into 6th grade,
It's gonna make you drool.
man, it was this boy in the wheelchair, and he was drooling from his mouth, and he was talking like what
Stephen Hawking talking about science.
He's got a button. He's talking through a button in
He's
his
like,
chair.
I wasn't that serious, but he
He's
talked
like,
real
so we
slow.
make you smart. Is that what you're telling me?
And then when I was in high school, funny thing is, this girl that I was in I'm not smart, guys. I'm okay, but the only AP class I had was English, right? And so this girl in my class, she would always come in. I'm one of those students who, in order for me to like do well, I have to actually study. I'm not like a natural, like, you know, like Pete. Like Pete is just naturally, Pete. Come on, you
Maybe-
only went to prep school, and you only went. Thank you.
But in our meeting, she'd be like, "What don't you fucking understand, Pete?" It's like a double standard.
Why are you
and shit.
fucking confused?
You literally just fucking said, "I want to make my YouTube."
You know, there's people
the
who are
priority."
book smarts, and then there's people who
Common
are
sense.
common sense smart,
Sure,
right?
yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
so
I'm book smart. She's more common sense.
yeah, I'm very common sense smart, you know, like, and so, no, I know it. Like, I'm more of a street smart person.
Got
I
it.
like,
I
I
can shoot
am.
dice. I can roast you.
I'm more like a survivor. I know how to make shit happen.
Hop
There's like
fences.
constant
Hey,
digs that
Hey,
from
I
the
know how to make a
fence.
dollar out of 15 cents, you know?
Hop fences, dodge the po-po. You know, several gang signs just in case I'm in the wrong hood. You know,
No,
street
no.
smart.
You know what I mean? So anyway, this girl used to come in class like just like this the whole time. I used to be like, why is that girl always looking like that? And she smelled like cigarette. I guess, I don't know if she would smoke a cigarette after she smoked the weed so that she'd smell like cigarette and not the weed. I really don't
It's
know.
cigar weed.
Yeah. And then one day, I don't know, I think she gave me a ride after class, after like school or something. And then and she said, I was like, she goes, you want some? I was like, no, I don't do drugs. You know what I'm saying? And then she was like, how do you think I pass every class? I'm like, smoking weed? She's like, yeah.
I thought it makes you drool.
This bitch she graduated top 10, bro.
Damn.
She probably knew how
Top
to.
10.
She must have had a good strain to help her focus and shit.
Yeah, because she was
like,
focused.
I'm about to do all this motherfucking vocab first. Then I'm gonna review my notes, take a little break, then come
I
back.
was tripping.
And
when
touch on the chapters I feel weak in. It's like, God
so she
damn.
did the weed, and then there was another girl in the class that did the Adderall or whatever.
I was gonna
that's
say she was
called.
probably hopped up on Adderall.
Yeah.
I'm scared of that. Oh.
Yeah, I don't do. But she was like, "I'll give you one if you want to try it." Because I used to be like, you smoke weed and you're in all AP classes, and you know you're like about to graduate top 10, and you smoke weed. Like, you know you're taught to like, if you smoke weed, oh, you're a little druggy, or you know, or anything like that. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, you're a little druggy. This girl was like genius. Like, she was super smart, and I used to just always be like, yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's going to function the same way for me. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
why. I just always felt it wasn't going to function. It wasn't going to do the same thing. And it's true. It doesn't do that
No.
for me. It doesn't do that for me.
Meanwhile, she would have been just as smart with or without. the
Probably,
weed.
yeah. She's just not a smart girl.
I mean, some people, I think it does help them.
But she swore by her weed, though. It was like, before she went into every class, it was like she was, oh, I'll be
Unless
back.
it was-
I'm going to the restroom.
Unless it was just like she was really had good study habits, like good student, and then she just started thinking that the weed was helping.
Well, she did, because you know what's funny, babe? You're so right, because right after we would be done with soccer practice, she would say, all right, it's time for me to go. She'd be like, it's time for me to go turn into what is it called, a hermit? Or
She's like books and
hermit,
blades.
a hermit? Yeah, she's like, all right, it's time for me to go turn into a hermit.
Instead of wake and bake, it's like, spark up and study.
Yeah, she's like, it's time for me to go. She goes, girl, put on my headphones. She's like, smoke me some weed. She goes, I get all my work done. I study. And I'm like, that's not how it works for me. I have the TV on, I have books open, and I'm trying to answer these questions while the TV, you know what I'm saying? It's total shit. Yeah. It's like the total opposite for me. I was like, oh, she's about to go get, okay. I was like,
imagine how the kids are now with like all these edibles, CBD and THC stuff that you can get with like a 1-to-1 where it just like mellows you out. You don't get annoyed by your stupid ass teachers or all the other kids in your classroom, How many kids are just popping like somewhat good edibles?
Fuck, I don't know, man. I don't know how common that is.
I think it's pretty common.
Well, I need to get a hold of that ratio, like the fucking 5 milligram 1-to-1 THC to CBD.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, my state hasn't figured out how they're gonna make money off of weed while keeping people in prison, because they're like, wait a minute, we're gonna lose out on all this prison money. Fuck you mean we gotta legalize it? They're like, how we gonna corner that market and then we'll make the shit legal? That's all they're trying to do is figure that out. But shit, I wish I had access to that.
Speaking of all this, which is probably stupid, maybe not a great way to segue into this, but today, which I never listened to the radio, right? Because there's nothing else, anything good, but I just happened to listen to it today. And they were talking about that in Canada, they're trying to make it illegal to take a selfie if you go to a funeral. You know how some people like to take selfies with like the deceased family member or friend?
No, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing either. I've never taken a picture with anyone.
I don't even want to walk up.
I don't even exactly.
I don't want to walk up.
I don't want to see them either.
No. They don't look the same. Obviously, they don't
exactly.
even look the same.
They don't. You know what I'm saying? And so then it's like, I was like, they're trying to make it illegal. Like, who even takes a picture? Like, why is that
like
okay?
You're taking a picture with a dead person.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. So it's a selfie, and the person's back here, and so they're trying to make it illegal in Canada, so that you can't do that.
And then who enforces that? Like the state, or like
whoever's
like you get a fine?
Yeah, good question.
I
don't know, but I thought that was kind of weird, right?
Yeah, I'm always for less government, but that's just weird anyway.
That's really weird. I just never. I was like, or even like when sometimes like as they're pictures of someone like in the casket and they post it like R.I.P. I just feel like that's so disrespectful to that person. Like, bitch, I don't want to be fucking put on social media.
On my shit?
Yeah.
Like you're not alive anymore to be like, bitch, you didn't get my good angle.
I know.
Bitch,
like,
did you tag me, bitch?
How do you know that person wants to be on social media that way?
Did they tag the dead person?
They better.
Yeah, I think that's for.
Or if they put the little doggy ears and shit on the person.
It's just tongue sticking out. Seriously, I just think that's kind of that thing to me. Those types of things are so private to me. So like for me, it's not a like I'm gonna put a picture of that person, but I'm just as a RIP type thing. But I'm not gonna put a picture of the funeral, us walking.
That's how I'm gonna be cremated.
Mm-hmm.
I'm down with that.
Yeah, I'm down with that too. I'm not
instead of expensive casket. And all
yeah.
That.
Yeah, I'm not into the whole.
And with cremation, besides paying for the cremation, what else you gotta?
If you want it in a nice jar and you pay for the jar.
In the Irishman, weren't they trying to charge for things? They're like, well, in the mausoleum, you could put their name. Maybe that's like upgrades, huh?
Yeah, that's if you actually want to have one. You don't have to have one at the little funeral. At the cemetery type thing. You don't have to have one.
House thing.
Yeah, it's only if like you want people to come visit you. It's a place where they can come visit. And that's basically it. And you can leave if I'm not mistaken, you can actually leave the ashes there if you want, or you can keep them, like,
Yeah, there's a couple of things you can do. Like one would be like, let's just say, for instance, somebody's significant other died. You could take their ashes and make it into a diamond. They can compress it and make it into a diamond.
Because it's carbon.
Yeah, you can make it into a piece of jewelry. Or there's something else where you take the ashes and like you put it in this pod and with some kind of like fertilizer, and then it turns into like a plant or something.
Aww.
I also heard there's this thing that they wrap the body in. It's like a picture, like a volleyball net or something, but it has like mushroom spores and like seeds or some shit.
You were telling me about that.
And it I don't know what. I'm not an expert, but as your body decomposes, you're feeding those things.
That might be what I'm thinking about.
It's releasing nitrous, some shit. But speaking of all this death stuff, I went and got my will thing almost situated.
Oh, good.
And updated and fixed and everything.
That's important. People don't understand how important that shit is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty important.
Yeah.
Because if not, you just be up there like, damn, man, they over here fighting over crumbs, man. What the fuck going on?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's always sad too. Like when people die unexpected, like Prince and stuff like that.
Oh, when the lawyer was asking us questions, I just started crying. I was like, I can't answer nothing. I'm gonna start crying again thinking about it. It was like, so if he's on life support, I'm like, I don't want to think about that. Like, I don't want to talk about
that. Hey, bro, you want them to pull a plug? Like if you're a vegetable, and I'm like, hey, man, we don't call it that.
I was like, oh my God. I was like, Pete's like, it is life, man. I'm like, I know, but I don't want to talk about that. Like, gosh.
It's like, look, man, when the simulation is over, this is what happens. You're born, and then there's a series of flashes and lights and events and things, and then you die. It's how you interpret. I'm just stealing this from that dude in the vault. It's how you interpret. It sounds fly, but I'm getting it for somebody else. It's how you interpret. Like, do you look at the bright side of that series? Like, what are you doing with that time?
Yeah.
You know, because you're born and you die, and in between there's a series of actions, events, flashes, and meaning and some symbolism, and how you choose to interpret the shit is kind of what life is about. So, you know, that's why I'm glad I read Sapiens.
Take a drink
to that.
Drink
Guys,
to that.
from now on, moving forward, new drinking game on the podcast. Every time
Chingo mentions the book Sapiens,
we are going to take a sip of whatever you have in your hand.
Or Marisol says y'all. Don't forget that part.
Yeah,
like for instance, the story you told about the lady that's having to speak at schools and she wasn't allowed at her friend's funeral because the mom didn't want her there. Well, if she had read Sapiens, no, it's almost like, no, I get it. You need to mourn, and this symbolic thing that us primates, Homo sapien, like two-legged motherfucking us little beings, these little, however you see us, these evolved fucking little monkeys, basically, right? What's Brian's thing called? Complicated apes.
Yeah.
Let's just say we're like complicated apes, and it's like, no, I get it. Like, have your moment. Like, you know,
it's all about, like, in that same vein of what you just said, it's a lot of it while you're alive is about when something happens and how you interpret everything. It's about like your reaction to things, not necessarily your actions. So a lot of people just react off of instinct, and they don't take a time to, like, kind of, you know, take it easy, you know, let's react a little bit better instead of just lash out at whatever just happens, or seeing things like the silver lining of things. I know it's hard to do, but if you could try to at least, like, look at the silver lining of, like, a bad situation, it'll make the journey a lot more bearable.
That's one thing I'm trying to work on, because right before this, we had a meeting where we're talking about like how hard some people work and how much shit they have going on for whatever reason, because you want to buy the newest stuff and then more stuff and then the newest version of that stuff and the old stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, but are you happy? It's like, it's not always about chasing success and, you know, winning and do more of this, and I want to be number one, and, you know, my status. I have status here, I have power over here, and motherfuckers know me over here. And it's like all identity.
Yeah.
It's all like...
All right, but let me, because Chingo loves to do this, and play devil's advocate now. How do you know that it's not about status for them, but rather maybe that's
maybe they are happy.
They're very happy.
No,
right?
maybe they are. Maybe that's what makes them happy. But what I'm saying is like, we should also work hard at making sure that we're being happy along this journey. Right? Because you don't want to just work, pay taxes, pay bills, and die.
Yeah.
Or work, always be stressed because you're always working towards some imaginary moment when you'll be able to retire and finally get to chill, when it's like, you could have been chilling the whole time.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, we saw an episode yesterday on Black Mirror.
Yeah, I wrote it down right
Oh,
now.
which one?
That was kind of like...
Did you see it's like the newest season?
I think
first
it's the newest
episode?
season. I think Miley Cyrus is one of the episodes.
Oh, no, I haven't seen any of the new ones.
We just watched one yesterday, and it was kind of the whole virtual reality world thing. Oh, you know how I'm so scared of that
I
stuff.
Some Ray Kurzweil shit.
Oh, okay.
So
Check this out.
So the reason, the way I think the writers for Black Mirror, the way they work, I think they read like futuristic type shit, like they're developing cloning in China, or they're finding ways to do this and that. So I think what they do is they find stuff like that and then start thinking about how could shit get complicated in that situation? Like, what are some of the ethical, like, lines and shit that could get crossed, right? And then they write a whole story about it. So without doing a spoiler alert, this is the episode where it's they show a young dude. It's a couple and they have a baby. Well, he has an old buddy, like from back in the day, and they used to play video games. They show them like always being good buddies in the beginning, like, you know, and then years go by, And then homeboy comes by to like an event. And long story short,
Well, here's the thing. He's married. One of the guys is married now with a family. The other guy is still living the single life, dating and, doing that whole, single guy thing, right?
Smashing and passing.
Exactly. Smashing and passing.
So the smashing and passing guy.
But he only comes to visit once a year, which is his buddy's birthday. So he comes for birthdays only.
And he hooked him up with a new copy of a new video game.
Of the same video game they used to play back in the days.
It's the new version. It's like Street Fighter.
Sure.
But it's the new version. It's like, and then he's like, oh, this is that virtual reality shit, but I don't have one of the headsets. He's like, don't worry, bro. It's in the bag. It's crazy. They showed me the demo in the store. And it's like this little thing that you put it right here, and they fucking like...
Your eyes, their eyes even turn like this grayish.
Like white. But they zap in, and they go into this like super... Here's where it gets crazy. Super realistic virtual environment where they literally like feel everything. So when they punching... Yeah, you know where this is going. So you know where to punch it. All right. So they're in the game, right? And the single guy that's smashing and passing, he always used to pick like the Chun-Li type character, like the female. And then homeboy would always pick like a Ryu type of guy. And it was like named Lance in the game. So now they're in the game and it's like, I'm gonna beat you up, bitch. Bitch, stop playing, ho. Hey, man. And it's like, oh, shit feels real, man. He's like, yeah, it's real in here, right? He's like, and then boom, they start kissing. The little Chun-Li, which is Carl or the homie,
which is the smashing and passing guy,
and the Ryu type dude, which is the guy that's married with a kid, and they start kind of like borderline doing it, but they're in the game.
Okay,
so, it's in the game.
So instantly, obviously they get out the exit game. Like, this is weird. It gets like, oh, I was drunk the other day, bro. But instantly we start thinking like, wait, does the guy that picks the girl and was the girl in the game, does he really identify as female? Like, does he really want to be?
So now are they gay?
Does that make them gay now? Like,
because they're not physically really doing anything.
They're in their own house.
It's in their own home.
Virtual.
Right. So,
but it begs the question of, at what point does virtual reality get so real that it starts to like not only feel and look real, but kind of...
And he started to have feelings because he didn't want to touch the wife.
Well, he got so sucked in. The guy that was married, he got so sucked into the game because they were like playing every night, basically having an affair. They were having like this emotional, like, but also physical in the virtual world.
So sucked in and sucked off in the game.
Both.
Well, no, because in one of the little sessions, fights or whatever, he's like, Lance, right, is asking like the guy, like, what does it feel like when I'm doing you? Like, you're the girl. He's like, it's this unexplainable feeling, like I don't know how to explain. I'm like, wait, so he has a vagina in this movie, like he in the virtual world, he really is a female. He's a vagina, and they for real have sex, like hot sex, like,
but it's the little blonde Asian girl and the Ryu looking dude. Hey. That's the part they always show, but inside it's Carl and his homeboy. Mm-hmm. So we don't want to give up the ending, but they explore some stuff. It gets complicated, and then at the end there's a crazy little twist.
So back to the blonde Asian though.
I'm just kidding. I mean, that's how homeboy was trying to, argue. Like,
that's how he's justifying it. Yeah.
They actually try to meet up and kiss in person
to test it
to see if they really like each other.
Yeah.
And then the smashing and passing guy was like, "Oh, I didn't feel nothing." He's like, "Me either." And then they start fist fighting because the married guy's like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. Cut it off. Like,
because his wife was already like, hey man, what's going on? Like,
she's like crying, like, why don't you touch me anymore? Like, I don't get pats on the back, like little rubs on the back anymore. Like, what is going on? And she's been wanting to get pregnant, And so he was like, I'm just tired, I just don't want to.
You gotta hit it in order for me to get pregnant.
Yeah. She's like, I gotta get fucked in order for me to, like, she went there.
God.
Yeah. I was like,
show.
whoa.
I fucking love that show.
Yeah. The writing is
man,
great.
it was like, okay, because I wanted to go to bed early, obviously, and I was telling Peter, all right, babe, we're only watching one, okay? Because I'm not
sure I understand.
See, look at that.
Oh,
look, it heard you say because I want to go to bed early, and she's like, I'm not sure I understand. Siri thinks I'm talking about going to bed.
Ain't nobody talking to you, Siri.
That's for episode 2, Black Mirror, bitch.
She's like, no, you're a bitch. What if she replied that?
I know, right?
That's scary when they're gonna fucking start saying that shit.
The watch starts getting hella tight.
Arm chops off. Next thing you know, we're in an episode of Black Mirror. Oh my god! People are watching us right now on TV talk about TV.
Oh my God.
simulation.
I'm so freaked out about that when that starts to happen. I don't know that I'm...
It's
I
too
don't
late.
know
You're
that I'm
in it.
ready.
What are you
No.
You're a vlogger and a blogger and a podcaster and
I know,
you're
but
in
I'm
it.
I'm not putting on nothing and going into another world.
A little headpiece.
That was freaky because I thought he was going to put on the glasses and it was going to be that when I saw that it was just this little dot and he just put it there and it was
like
like,
a little, like some old gum from up under the table.
I mean, in all fairness, when you put the wig on and you put the camera on, you're going into another place. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
Rob, not a
Come
good
on.
example.
Come
Sorry.
on.
Or when you're on social media, that's not really the real world
Yeah.
that's
because
another
everybody's
world.
being a little avatar.
Yeah. They literally, that's what they call them, avatars. Isn't that weird that they call our social pictures avatars?
Well, when the movie Avatar was coming out, I couldn't wait to see it because I had just read about what avatars were and how they're gonna come in the future from the Ray Kurzweil book.
I never saw Avatar.
The one where they're blue and yeah. Well, supposedly they're gonna have that shit one day. Where like, there's been a whole bunch of movies. There's a movie where like Bruce Willis where he has like a little. Have you seen that one? It's like he's like a cop, but he the real him goes inside of this like pod thing, like the real human him that ages, and then the little avatar him, like his little consciousness. There's a lot of shit going on with that where they can put your consciousness into like another thing. And that's what that movie's about. And that's really what Avatar's about because he's a soldier that's handicapped. Right. And Sigourney Weaver is a scientist and they put him in this thing and he's able to go into this avatar world in an avatar.
I feel like we were talking about movies not too long ago or a while back and somebody had messaged the podcast page about one in particular that none of us could think of. I want to see if I can find it real quick.
Oh, like the answer to something?
Yeah, the answer to something. And I was like, oh shit, I forgot about that movie.
I'm scared of that. I'm just not really. There's still that little old school in me where I just want to touch and feel and I don't want to be in another world. And I think that like...
Every night you go into another world.
I know, but I don't even know because I'm asleep.
Well,
so
that's
it's
what
all good.
Well, that's my point.
I'm not choosing. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
like
my point. My point is that motherfucking humans and scientists, they still don't know what all happens when you go to sleep. We still don't understand the human brain fully and like why the fuck our behavior half the time. They don't understand addiction. They're like, we think it's a disease now. We really ain't figured it out. So like. My point is, we're living in this society, in this world where so much of these rules and constructs from religion to what do you do when a family member dies, like how do you mourn, like just all these cultural things and that, what's the word? Like think about it. You're socialized from the time you're born. You pledge an allegiance to something, you know, you're sitting in a row, you know.
But I'm okay with honoring the Texas flag. Sorry.
You know, and the American flag, but they're all ideas, right? What is democracy? You know, what is this? What is that? So we're living in a world where we're participating in a whole bunch of stuff that may be proven wrong in the future. Like, newsflash, guys, that's not what happens when you die. Mm-hmm. Or like, newsflash, guys, that's not what your body's doing when it's asleep. Or whatever. Like, we're participating in a thing where we still don't know all the answers. And shit might be proven wrong in the future, and we're just kind of going along with the shit. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense.
Facts. Right now, people are like, "Yeah, Chingo, yeah," in their cars right now. Like, you're right.
Like, one of the things. This is like off subject. One of the things I got sucked into on YouTube is like looking at all the crazy examples of colonialism in different parts of the world. For example, the Belgium, how they went into the Congo, like in Africa. And they just like fucked over people, like took all the resources.
There's a channel on YouTube, that DW documentaries. They got some good ones on there. He got me into them. I don't know if he knew about them, but he has been watching them, and I'm like, wow.
Around the holidays, when we were like getting the house in order, I'm just like looking up like things about. I learned some shit about like the kind of like money and the global dollar and all this bullshit. But the colonialism stuff is interesting because like Germany went into what was that country? I think they changed the name of it, Zombie or something. But you see all these examples of like how they stole the land. Mm-hmm. Like you just start seeing patterns. Like, oh wait, that sounds like redlining in America, or like wait, that sounds like apartheid, or like covert racism, and You know, and it's some trippy ass shit. They had people in human zoos up until like not that long ago, where like people in Belgium could be like, oh look, and like throwing, like making noises at Africans that they had in an exhibit, like throwing bananas at people and making faces and noise, like, ooh, like just ignorant as fuck.
And then you were saying that I haven't watched that one, but weren't you saying that they were like, oh, look at the baby, like as if it were like.
Well, yeah, they just had him behind like a bamboo fence, like living there. And they're like, bro, why y'all staring at us like we're fucking humans, right? But it's the same shit that was going on when you have like America and like the Native Americans and like, you know, from the Comanche, what happened to these tribes? Why are these people on reservations? Or you look at Mexico where like my great-grandfather was mining. Damn, that was loud as fuck. Fuck this convo. Like mining for silver in Mexico. But all that silver was getting put on a boat and getting sent where? To Spain.
Yeah.
So that's all was happening all over the world, where it was rubber from the Congo getting sent back to Belgium, diamonds, and I forget what else they took from, damn, I forgot that country, bro. But how they would like, for instance, there was like a local, it's some part of Africa, but like every year.
Tanzania?
Nah, I can't remember the name, bro.
Right.
But like basically every part of Europe, like I guess Europe was already really crowded and shit, and they just started it was like an African gold rush. Like everybody go to Africa and figure out how to get resources and like take shit that they have, and like if there's a local dispute like between two tribes, how they can maybe sell weapons to one side, make promises to the other, have them sign a little fake treaty. Long story short, they end up with all the land, and then they set up all the rules. And then their ancestors, to this day, still own all the farmland. And now everybody else is in the shanty towns and the outskirts, like marginalized. And you see it over and over and over again. I don't give a fuck if it's Memphis, you know what I'm saying, Mississippi, or you're looking at some other country, or if you're looking at Mexico. And it might sound like an anti-colonialism, anti-European rant, but that's the shit that I be watching on YouTube.
Dude, man, the history of just the United States alone, but without even getting into Europe or anywhere else, is pretty fascinating too. Like, I think everybody, as you get older, you get more interest in it. Because were you interested in history a whole lot when you were younger?
Nah, because they told it in a real boring ass way. Right,
and a lot of it, you come to find out, isn't even factual on top of it. So as you get older, I guess you get a little more interested in like what happened before all of this was here, right? But just like how settlers came and just like took all the natives' land, like just all around the United States. Like we just like, this is ours now, you know.
And that literally same thing happened all around the world at the same time.
Yeah.
Whether it was like the British in India, the British in Hong Kong, like just all over the fucking place, bro. Spain and Mexico, bad. Like I said, Real de 14 is this little town that was a silver mining town. Now it's a ghost town and mainly only gets if you look that up on YouTube, that shit's interesting too, because now no one lives there. I think they said only 500 people live there, and they just get a little bit of tourism because it's a ghost town, and they're also known for I think it's peyote, like it's one of those hallucinogen little cactus things.
Yeah,
it might be peyote, where our ancestors were nomads. You know what I'm saying?
What's another one? Like, is it mescaline or there's another one too?
Mescaline is the frog, ain't it?
Okay, not peyote then. Fuck, what is it? Salvia. I don't know. I've never fucked with mescaline. Okay, yeah. I've never fucked with any of them, but I know what you mean.
Yeah. So anyway, that little town in particular, that's where Spain was digging out minerals out of the ground, and now it's just known for like the little peyote. You can go score some peyote.
It's funny how Marisol just left.
Yeah.
She probably had to go to the restroom, but she just slammed the shit out of that door.
No, but it's usually, I'm sure y'all see a pattern. It's usually when I start like nerding out on my shit, she's like, okay, that's my cue. But I'm like, hey, and because the reason, and she's back. The reason I get so into this shit is because, like, my ancestors, you know, were in a situation. Well, my parents were in a situation where it's like, hey, man, I think there's more opportunity over there.
Yeah,
right.
For sure.
So what happens sometimes, Rob? What freaks me out is that people in countries, hopefully not us, sometimes they wake up. And they're like, wait. You heard the price of the gas tripled?
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, what's going on? Well, our leaders in our country are playing this little chess game with leaders from this other country with tariffs and embargoes or nuclear deals or whatever. Long story short, the average person is a pawn. They're like waking up at the mercy of some decisions their leaders made, and now like the price of milk tripled, eggs, everything tripled, and rent and jobs went down. And that's the shit I'm afraid of, because you don't want to just, because we see that shit on YouTube too, where like people from all over Africa are trying to like escape instability. Look, here's my thing, and I'm gonna wrap it up with that.
Well, I have something to add to that when you finish that
Okay,
story.
let me just, because I know I sound like I'm rambling, but let me just give my one fucking sentence recap, which is like, I believe humans just want to be happy and just want some stable shit for their family and their kids, right? Mm-hmm. They want their babies to be safe and us to not, be freezing to death, starving to death, nothing fucked up. So when you have instability in different countries due to like a dictator, shit out of your control, nobody just wakes up and it's like, I want to fucking, not have access to clean water and just be like, my kid might die of diarrhea.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of kids be dying like shit like that. So when there is instability, that causes people to bug out, like want to get the fuck out. And that's why you have so many refugees right now as we speak. Like in Italy, all the presidential people, or some of them, they're running on the same shit old boy ran on here. And the dude in Spain is also running on Make Spain Great Again. It's called nationalism.
Right.
So in Italy, you got them doing like Italy first. Hey man, they taking jobs. We can't have all these immigrants bringing their problems. Even in Mexico, hey man, these Hondurans coming over here leeching off the system, and we need a better wall down there. And Honduras is gonna pay for it. You know what I'm saying? Like everywhere.
ASMR.
Yeah. Everywhere.
But speaking about that, babe, this morning I heard about this teacher in Venezuela who, he's a professional, right? And he went viral because his shoes were like torn and beat up because he can't afford to even buy a pair of shoes, where he's having to pick between eating or shoes. And so they were saying that, I think he makes 5.9, what is it, Bolivian, or what do they make? Bolivares. And so basically, I heard it on the radio, so I don't know. They said that translates to almost like pennies here in the U.S. Damn. And so they were saying that he still goes to school every day to teach, but he can't, they actually showed the video. Wait, I'm about to tell you how he went viral. They didn't post him because of his shoes. They posted him as the teacher who still shows up every day to give, to teach these children. While they were showing the video of him teaching these children, they noticed that the shoes were just like torn, and they were like, damn. And so then they interviewed him, and it was like, well, it's either between food and that. So they did a GoFundMe. And so basically he did a video of like him having his shoes and what he did with the money. I haven't seen it or found it, but
there's teenagers hunting cats to eat.
Jesus.
There's no food, bro. And Venezuela, it was, I think was or is the third, like top three oil producer for a long time. Like they're known as being a very rich, resourceful countries, but they got a socialist dictator in charge, and
it was crazy. I thought about you when I heard that this morning. I was like, oh,
I thought he was going to be eating a cat on the video, because that's what you've been. No. That's more of what you've been hearing. Yeah. It's like teenagers are having to figure out how to hunt and catch these fast ass cats because there's no food. So that's the shit that keeps me up. Where I'm like, we make a lot of oil too, but that don't mean all America. It takes is a couple little like checks and balances don't work, a couple loopholes, like, oh, they electing these type of people now. Oh, this is what they want? Cool. And what really freaks me out is when these other countries find these vulnerabilities in the system, where it's like, wait, the social network that they're all on? You're like, yeah, Facebook. You know that they're not going to censor fake news? They're just going to let you run whatever ad you want, political. They're like, fuck yes. Get me a warehouse. I need 10,000 cubicles. Find me 10. It'll be like an oligarch, like somebody with a bunch of money. They'll be like, I don't give a fuck. Hire 10,000 motherfuckers to write tweets, make ads. We're just going to confuse the shit out of their people. I told you about the 14% of American students can't tell the difference between fact and opinion.
Interesting.
You haven't heard this shit?
No.
All right. I'm getting a
Oh,
short
shit.
version. All right. So basically what they've been finding for the last, I don't know how many years, 50, 60 years, America has not been able to keep up on an educational standpoint when it comes to STEM, like science, tech, engineering, math. Other countries are kicking our ass because apparently they just got a better system somehow, some way. So mad presidents, I think it started, I don't know if it was Jimmy Carter or somebody, they're like, no child left behind. Let's try that. And then it'll be like, okay, we need to have every state compete. Y'all need to make y'all's standardized tests. And if y'all motherfuckers ain't up to par passing, we're going to cut your funding. So now these governors that are up for re-election, they just start putting pressure. It just becomes about the test. So now to make the test easier so I can look better. Right? So now kids ain't learning. Make the test easier so I don't lose my funding. And now the teachers are only teaching for the test. Right? It's not solving a problem. And they went through on the podcast and broke down what Clinton tried, what Obama tried. Every president has been trying something different to try to help those numbers. And what they realize about this shit?
That it doesn't work.
Fuck, it was something else, man.
I forgot.
Yeah, a little brain fart there.
That's all right. Well, if you think about it, I had a question. With Mickey being in the grade she's in, has she brought home any kind of like new math problems and new things that they're fucking doing in school?
New math?
No? Because they are. They're doing
Yes,
like,
babe.
What kind of math?
You know
New
how
math.
she'll be like, so she, to add, right?
because I've seen this and I don't know any with kids old enough yet.
So when she adds, she's like, she'll come and ask me and I'll be like, okay, it's blah, blah, blah. And this is how you solve it. She's like, no, you go 1, 2, 3,
Different
4,
methods.
5, 6, 7. I'm like, why are you making dots? That's how they teach us. I'm like, what?
To multiply
I was
some
like,
shit?
it's like, you go 1, 2, 3, and then you bring the dot down here and then it's 5. I'm just like, nah, Mickey, I don't know what that is. That's like, but you can go ahead and tell your teacher that I said that is not the way to learn, and I'm going to show you the way that I know, and I guarantee you'll get it.
Yeah.
So then I'll teach her the way that we were taught growing up, and then she'll be like, that's easier. And I'm like, exactly. I don't know this 1, 2, 3 dot, and you know.
Yeah, just I saw it was actually a comedian breaking like his kid had brought home like a long form division problem and like a long form multiplication.
Yeah.
You know how to do it. You know, let's say it's double digits times double digits, and then you would just work it out.
Yeah.
And then this new math is like you've got like boxes and circles and
Yeah,
lines.
Mickey does the circle.
I was
Mickey
like,
does the boxes for
come
multiplications.
I could barely get the regular shit, but I
Yeah.
got that growing up. There's no way kids are getting this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And,
it sounds like a very dumbed down way. It's like you're literally drawing if it's 5 times 6, make 5 boxes with 6 dots in each one. Basically, and
It's
then
not
they're
like-
counting 30
Yeah.
fucking
Babe,
dots.
and then you know, do you remember we were taught bigger, bottom, borrow?
For division?
Yeah. Okay. So when we were talking about that, it was like, she was like, what? That's not blah, blah, blah. And so she was like, we do it this way. Same thing with, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally.
Right.
So she's doing.
Which is parentheses. What is it? Explanation?
Parentheses, exponents, please excuse, multiplication,
Division.
Subtract.
Add. Subtract.
Yeah. So
We got it, guys.
Yeah.
Between 3 of us, we got it.
I broke a sweat.
So
I
she was
gotta
like,
go.
what? No, remember you were like, no, just do it Soli's way. It's easier. Do
She
you
was Future
understand?
Teachers of America. That's why I married her.
She's like, do you
She
remember?
taught you how to read better. Remember you were struggling?
So anyway,
We thought you were dyslexic.
remember you were like, okay, why don't you learn Soli's way? Because it's an acronym for something.
Because I'm watching TV. Learn Soli's way.
I'm watching YouTube history right now.
I'm watching what might happen.
And so, she'll come and I'm like, that's not how I would do it. I was like, but I'm going to show you how I would do it. And then maybe you can tell me why the way they're telling you is that way. I mean, both ways give you the same answer, but
Maybe one way makes sense more.
it's just the new, just
I remember what
stop.
that thing
Just keep
was.
it traditional,
Right.
you know?
At least for that.
For math is math.
Yeah, math is math.
is math.
Whether you like it or you don't.
Yeah.
What was it, Chingo?
It was that 14% of
Oh,
American
yeah.
students
Duh,
can't
that's
tell
what we're
the
talking
difference between
Fact
fact and opinion.
Okay.
And I think that's what happens when you have so much misinformation, paralysis by analysis, like breaking news 24 hours a day, like just a bunch of fucking bullshit.
Hey, but
So-
he came in testing me though. He asked me a question.
Ooh.
He goes, do you think that's A factor in opinion. I was like,
No, because you were asking me, and that's how I broke it down. It was, they gave the
and then
students,
I said opinion. He goes, exactly. See, that's because we're not from that generation. I'm like,
well, we know how to fucking critical think still. These motherfuckers
don't.
So look,
yeah.
bro, here's where they came up with this 14%, right? They were like, how did they come up with this number? They said this is what it was. They gave each student 2 documents. One document was, it said like the National Dairy Association, and here are some bullet points, right? That they're obviously what? Promoting. One of those bullet points was, if you really want to lose weight, milk is the thing to drink. That's one of their things that they're making up, which is obviously not fucking true. Milk is fatty, and you know, there's 20 reasons why they cut dairy when you're in the bodybuilding. And then the other document was an actual like scientific journal published thing with sources and like data.
Like white papers?
I don't know what that is.
Okay.
I know about brown papers. But basically it was those 2 types of things. Well, only 14 of the motherfuckers got it right. Everybody thought that if you want to lose weight, you got to drink milk. Because the National Dairy Association, this is facts. That science data source stuff is opinion.
Were you the guy in the wheelchair at Marisol school?
No.
What's going on?
I'm not a D.A.R.E guy. But that's pretty fucking sad, man. That just lets you know that, like, yes, we're the shit. America's still number 1. So on and so forth. We got the most guns, drop the most bombs. But if your youth is like, the scary thing is that when automation comes in and artificial intelligence just starts taking non-creative jobs, how are these kids supposed to grow up and be informed citizens that know how to vote, right? Informed citizens that can compete for the good jobs that are going to give you a living wage. So guess what? They're fucked.
okay. Funny you say that, babe. Because I posted this thing about, give me some ideas on video content for me to post on YouTube. And one girl said, useful shit that high school doesn't teach, like how to balance a checkbook. We talked about
What
that.
if you stopped at useful shit?
Useful shit videos.
How to do your taxes.
I was going to say that, sorry not to interrupt.
How to budget.
With D.A.R.E, first thing that came to mind is, instead of fucking having that chick, you know, about the D.A.R.E thing why don't they just, instead of scaring kids, why don't they teach you how to balance your checkbook and know about taxes?
Nah, man, they want you to have bad credit so you could be stuck in a fucked up situation.
I refuse to let my girls fuck up the way I did. And so I think I told you, we talked about it last time on the podcast, right? Mickey's Christmas gift is going to, with the money that I would spend on her Christmas gifts, we're gonna open up a bank account, and then we'll see if she'll really want to buy those items. And I'm going to get her little ledger so that she can keep track of, this is how much you start with. Every time you spend, this is how much is subtracted, you know, so you need how much you have left, you know. So now she'll learn the value of money, and then she'll understand that it has nothing to do with us not being able to buy her what she wants. And she's really not a kid that really asks for anything, to be honest with you. I think the things that she mostly asks for is like, can I get a peppermint mocha? You know what I'm saying? Or something like things like that. She didn't really material things. She just, you know, she gets things all year round, you know, so she doesn't, thankfully she doesn't, you know, need anything, you know, she has everything she needs and pretty much everything she wants, you know? So, anyway, I hope that, I kind of already have an idea of what I want our Christmas card to her to say inside. And part of that is like, if there's a gift that I can give you, is the gift of learning how to be a responsible adult, and, you know, how to function through life without, you know, anxiety or, you know, not knowing how to budget.
Well, you want them to be empowered so that they know how to do necessary, important, useful shit, instead of getting plunged down to, like me, I went to college, right? Motherfucking degree and all that shit. I'm 21. You get thrown into the world where you're thinking, oh, somebody gonna have a job for you. They're gonna be waiting for you. You got a degree? Cool. Here's your job. You know, you're thinking that, number one. And on top of that, it's like, wait, you know, I gotta, you know, I'm getting hit up for credit cards, and wait, well, how important is this credit score thing? And like, well, I want to buy a house one day. How's that work? Like, just all that shit, all that shit. And it's like, damn, you went to school all those years and you don't know none of that. Yeah, that was me.
You know how it's always been important that like the parent actually teaches the kids these things, and it all starts at home. They always say, right? I think now having kids and all this jazz and being around more friends with kids, it's even more important because of the misinformation, because of the way that things are being taught in school. That if it doesn't start at home now, I think kids are going to even be less. They're going to be less informed and more behind than, let's say, we were, because we didn't have as much of the internet and all the noise and all the misinformation. Does that make sense? Like, if you don't teach your kids now at home, like in 2020...
Oh, yeah. You have to get a hold of them first, because once the world...
Yeah.
I mean, just from a digital diet, like how much shit goes through their eyeballs, like from the screen to the eyeball, it's like their little brain's just getting scrambled and fried, and they already got a hold of them. And not only that, when I would drop Mickey off at school, like I'm like, damn, I got to give her some good game and perspective before I just hand her over, and they just educate them how they think. That's why I'm always preaching like certain things and shit.
So how much do you think the average the average cost for private college was last year?
Private
per year.
Private college.
College.
I'm gonna go with
like Rice. Is Rice private?
Is Rice private?
I don't think Rice is private.
No.
No.
HBU?
So give me an example.
But I think Trinity is
Trinity is
private. Yeah. Trinity is private.
Fuck, I don't know.
Right now,
Yeah.
Was it like 50?
I'd say like close to 60.
It's closer to 2016-17 was 30 to 40. So not cheap, basically. If anybody's listening, like, oh, my kids want to go to private school, like that's for 1 year or, or 12 credit hours or whatever it might be. 9 for in-state kids.
That's how much my high school was. Good thing I didn't pay.
Anyway, the Balance is a really good website when it comes to like finances and school and whatnot. But the conversation becomes, now that I've started to read more about that, just out of interest, that like everyone has a high school degree, so they're not that valuable. Everyone has a college degree because everyone's being pushed to go to college, that they're not as valuable as they once were. Where like somebody that had a degree 15 years ago was like, oh, he went all the way, got a degree. Now it's like, hey, motherfucker's got a liberal arts degree or have whatever kind of college degree that doesn't hold any weight. But you still have the debt from 4 years of, $50,000 a year, $40,000 a year.
And you still have to factor in like hustle. Are you out hustling motherfuckers? And it's just like, I think people are led to believe that like you were saying, oh, if you get that degree, you automatically entitled to this like really good job that pays good and stuff. And it's like, no, just there's different companies, but I mean, shit, the person who has that job the marketing job that you're looking for, they actually have an English degree, but they knew somebody and they had some good experience, and then they did well there, and then the uncle was hiring over here. Not, you sitting there with your marketing.
My mom taught me about taxes at a very young age, and trust me, I hated her for it. When I was 17, because what 17-year-old wants to sit there and help to sort papers?
Oh yeah, you just do by hand, right? Long way.
Yeah, I mean, I still kind of do when we do our taxes.
But you know it.
But I know it, yeah. And so I just hated it because, like I said, my friends didn't have to be responsible like that. I did. And so I hated it. The only thing I didn't like, my mom wasn't big on, was like budgeting or saving or, you know what I'm saying? Any of those things. It was kind of like, here's your money. You figure out how you're going to use it. And if you don't have any, guess what? You probably should learn how to budget your money better. You know what I'm saying? So it was kind of like that.
Yeah.
It was never, but when it came to like taxes, like, I mean, I've been paying bills since I was very little. You got to remember I was the interpreter. So I understood bills at a very young age. I knew that you wrote a check to pay a bill, and you had to have a receipt when you went to Fiesta or wherever to pay your bill. So I knew that at a very young age because my parents are immigrants. They didn't speak English at the beginning, obviously as life went on. But because I was the first to learn English in our household, it was like, hey, can you read what this says? Or what does this say? I'm like, something. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're sitting there trying to figure it out yourself. You don't really know the book.
Bro.
Yeah. So it's kind of like one of those things. So I don't know if like maybe... kids who are the oldest probably understand they always end up with, all the responsibility most of the time.
But now you know how to do a bunch of shit. And all those kids, the kids that were allowed to be kids and weren't forced to learn how to do taxes, they became adults and are like, fuck, I got to do this goddamn taxes.
Yeah. Yeah. Or you can just pay someone to do it. That's where I come in cheap, I guess. Because we could easily drop everything off at the accountant, but I refuse to like pay the extra money to
That's
have
a lot
him
of
do.
work, though. I damn near rather do it.
Yeah, he was like, this year, can we just ask him what he would charge?
Just hypothetically speaking,
Get a quote.
Can we get a quote as to what he would charge? Because he could also do like he does like quarterly bookkeeping for you, or and I'm just like, no, I do it myself. I'm not ready to pay that fee yet. So
man, what else was I gonna bring up? We're talking about kids earlier, and like, oh yeah, Mickey for Christmas, right? You said you're putting like, what was the money going towards again?
it's just her spending money.
Okay.
Because instead of me giving her the gifts that she wants, I want her to see if she would buy them.
Right.
If she was given this money.
That's pretty cool.
So I want to see if the things that are on her list that she says that she wants, I want to see if she's going to buy them for herself. If here's the money that I would spend on you, right, for Christmas, I'm going to show you how you use your debit card. I've also asked my sister, because my mom and my sister have asked, like, what does she want for Christmas? I said, give her money, because I'm opening up her a bank account, so I want to show her how you deposit money too. So I want to show her two ways. So that's the reason why I asked my mom and my sister, because my mom's like, money, that's so informal. You know what I'm saying? She feels like that's like not a gift,
but it puts the power in her hands to where now she has to be a conscious little decision maker, instead of the power being in the kids' hands in the wrong way, which is they just make a fucking list, and then the parents are the ones scrambling and stressing out, and no one learns anything. Right? That's the alternative.
And so what I want to do is, with like the money my sister gives her, or whoever, my mom, I don't care whose money we use, I want to show her how you do an ATM deposit, right? And then I want to take her inside the actual bank and then show her how you make a deposit inside the bank, and how you're supposed to write your account number, how much you're depositing, you know what I'm saying, the date, and then you give it to the teller, you know what I'm saying? So I want her to understand that there's multiple ways you can go about doing it, so that if she ever needed to deposit something through the ATM, she knows how, I know that she's 11. I totally get it. People are probably thinking like, she's 11, bro. I know. But what better way to teach your child about, I'm not saying, obviously we're still going to buy her all the things that she needs.
But how many dumb 21-year-olds are there?
Right.
That don't, why am I always broke? Well, because when you were 11, you gave you a custodial account at the bank. That's 10 years before. How fast your whole frontal lobe ain't even all the way developed.
So that way, whenever she wants something, that's the one thing I used to hate, was asking my parents for money. It was like one of those things I hated asking, and I would always just kind of like, man, if only I had a job. I didn't have. So when I wanted something, I would always ask my mom, can I clean the house and can you pay me? And then she'd be like, well, you have to clean the whole house. Yeah. And so I was like, okay. So because my mom would pay for like somebody to come and clean the house. So I'd be like, okay, if she doesn't come, can I get that money? I said, if you don't tell her to come, can I do it so that I can get the money? And so she'd be like, okay, but you got to do a good job. So it was like, I cleaned her room, her restroom, the kitchen. But I wanted the money because I didn't want to have to ask them for money. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
it was like,
because you earn it and you spend it on.
What I want. I don't want to hear like, what did you spend it on? You know what I'm saying? Or how come you don't have money anymore? I gave you $20 3 weeks ago. I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Kind of thing.
Yeah. I'm always giving you money. Yeah. That was $20 3 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of what it was for me. So it was like, even if it was just like, I was only going to go to the skating rink with my dad.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And my friends. But it was like going to ask my dad, can I get nachos? Kind of thing. Like,
en la casa hay nachos.
My dad was actually pretty good. It was more my mom that made a bigger deal. She was a little bit more strict than my dad. My dad was a little bit more like easygoing. All right, whatever you girls want. I guess the way dads are with their girls, And so he was a lot more easygoing than my mom was. My mom was way more strict. But it was just better for me. So then my first job, I got it behind my mom's back. Because in high school, there's so many more activities you wanted to do. And so I never heard the end of it. Ay, Marisol, en cada cosa te metes. And I'm just like, okay, aren't you glad I'm active in school? And I need the money for school? Like, I'm not out doing anything. So I got a job behind her back, waitressing at a retirement home.
What?
And she didn't know. Well, one day, my friend, his mom would give us rides to, because I got him a job there, and technically I got him the job there so that he could give us the ride to school. To the job. So anyway, he got sick, so he wasn't going to go to work. And I was like, oh my God, how am I going to get to work? That was my ride. You know what I'm saying? So I had to tell my mom, I said, I got a job. And she kind of just looked at me and she just kind of shook her head. She took me to work and she just said, I want for you to quit. She goes, because you have the rest of your life to work. She goes, and if you need money, just ask me for it. I'm like, I said, no, if I need money, it just don't happen like that. I got to hear a whole story about why do you always need
Mexico and
how your only doll that your only doll that you had was melted because it was so hot. You know what I'm saying? So it's like
that one story about the one doll, no outfits.
Exactly. So it was kind of like
melted
one of those things. She let me actually keep the job, but I couldn't keep up with it because I was involved in too many school activities to where it was like I would be on the I'd come and give my manager like my schedule for school, and he was like, yeah, so when are you working? Just Saturday? And I'd be like, yeah, kind of. That's the only day I can kind of work, so so that's kind of.
And just like that, 20 years went by.
Yeah, I know. Yep. Jesus.
Custodial accounts. Let us know how it works out for you.
Yeah, for real. Yeah. High interest bearing account of some sort for a toddler. Somebody on Instagram I saw was doing a video that like if you do it, invest such and such amount in a custodial account, by the time they're 18 they'll have 6 figures.
Question. What gives high interest? Like who pays out high interest? Where do you got to put it?
The average right now is like 2%, which isn't a lot, but if you do it in a custodial account, like so if you do like Ally Bank, which is an online only, Charles Schwab, Goldman Sachs, they have these high interest like 1.9 to 2.5%. You do it for a baby, for your toddler, just that, without having to invest it in like
it's like a regular checking account.
It's just a savings account. So it's just a regular custodial savings account. So you could do it along with a checking account. But like if you just go to Wells Fargo or whatever and you open a savings account, they give you 0.1%.
Nothing.
Shit.
That's why we don't have a savings account. I use a checking account as a saving account, if that makes sense.
It's another video on YouTube where they were talking about like basically when money used to be backed by gold, and then I think it was Bill Clinton and then the Chancellor of Germany and a whole bunch of big world leaders at once mysteriously decided to switch over all currency to be backed by Saudi petroleum. Convenient. So now it's no longer backed by gold, it's backed by Saudi oil. And then the banks started doing this thing, if I'm not mistaken, where basically it's like what people think happens is you go and put $10,000 into the savings at Chase. Chase then uses that money to like invest and loan to people, and that's kind of how it works. Well, what it is you keep your money in there, it sits there, they give you your little pennies. Like you're really losing money damn near when you factor it all out with that 2%. And that's totally separate from this casino thing they have going, where it's like they'll put in $100 into the World Bank and then they lend out 100,000 or whatever, right, off of that. So they're basically just printing more imaginary currency. And what ends up happening basically is the banks win, the central banks win in that situation. But what happens is the poor get poorer and the rich get richer. So like this little 2% can't do shit with it.
Well, that 2% doesn't even, well, at the very least, it gets closer to equaling out with inflation. So inflation's been 3% for forever, basically. So if you don't even put it in a 2% one, you're literally like your dollar is worth that much more or less 5-10 years down the road. And then you get into like, let's just say stocks, right? An interesting subject for a lot of blacks and Latins right now. I see a lot of entrepreneurs and people talking more about stocks. The S&P 500, you invest in like this one portfolio that has 500 different stocks, right? It has an annual yield or an annual return rate, I think, of like 8%. Now you're talking about something that's much more safer and way more, has a bigger ROI. So which is an interesting thing to look into if you're interested in it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
On that note,
we threw a lot of knowledge bombs today.
Jeez.
Coming off
this was
that,
a good episode.
Talking about
100
genocide and redlining and how these colonial people put their statues up in your town just to remind you.
Did we talk about that?
Nah, just some notes.
I missed that part.
Yeah, like you see they put the big German dude on a horse in this little African town. You know what I'm saying? Everybody got their little. Everybody got the statues.
I don't know where that was going to come into the conversation, but I like that you had it written
It's
down.
my little notes. You got to come back to it.
It was so funny. Marisol spit all over her microphone.
I mean, you heard about, shit. Remember all the bullshit about these Confederate statues?
Yeah.
Same shit.
Same shit.
Motherfuckers got their statues everywhere.
Same shit, different part of the world.
That's what they trying to do, man. They trying to put their little statues up, but don't let them, dog.
Let's go out on how awesome that feature did for Bo Bundy was, man. People were so excited.
Shout out to
have
Bo
you.
Bundy.
I was crushing, Bo.
Hey.
Little cutie pie.
I just kept hearing Marisol rewind my verse from the other room. Like, damn, girl, I wrecked it that hard.
Yeah.
I had it on repeat for a little bit on Instagram and then watched the video when he put it up the next day. And I was like, I was just as hyped as the people that were posting, like, man, I'm getting hyped seeing Chingo do music
I
again.
loved seeing him.
I was like, now can I get studio time? I'm just kidding.
Ay, sufrido. My
She's
God.
like, you got a studio right there.
Never. If anything, I've been asking him, like, hey, when are you going to finish the album? When are you going to finish the album?
The
Like,
tracks,
we should really drop the album for the beginning of the year. Have I not?
Yeah. So, and I had studio
So
time
don't
yesterday.
make me sound
cool.
like I...
No. Look, my baby let me have a podcast studio. She might let me have
Which
a music.
she's about to share with you.
Yeah.
You get half of it, motherfucker. I get the other half.
Yeah, I'm going to need two of them mics.
No, you don't make me sound like I'm not supportive, babe. Come on now.
No, but I am anxious to, like, it just takes time. Yesterday I only had 2 hours, so the track is about 90% done. It's 2 verses, a little hook, but it's kind of like, what would I have done if I had like another hour?
Yeah. Isn't that always
It
the
wasn't
thing?
available, or what happened, babe?
I just booked 2,
Oh.
and because I'll be thinking too, like, well, I'm trying to make it home at a decent time, and
Yeah.
that parent pickup line, they don't be playing over there. Which reminds me of, I got to get out of here because I have improv class at 6 p.m.
Nice.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. Please tell a friend, like, subscribe. The podcast is growing thanks to people like you. Shout out to our sponsors.
Thank you.
Holla at you next week. And I might want to do a Tio Juve solo podcast where he's all in Spanish talking shit on YouTube. He has a nice little set.
And now nobody can curate what you talk about now.
Well, yeah, because
right?
I won't be like, well, Google and YouTube could just make up whatever rules they want. They might be like, hey, we don't like mullets this week. So thank you guys.
And we might need some listener submitted content for the Tio Juve show, maybe.
Yeah, things to roast, maybe things to talk about, topics, advice.
Yes.
For sure. Advice. Tio Juve could get real good motherfucking relationship advice.
I'm sure.
And we'll feature you on the podcast and on the YouTube if you submit the questions.
I might even interview you on my podcast.
We might even get a whole game plan going.
There you go.
So, new tour coming too. All right, guys. Thank you.
Peace.
Bye. Se la lavan.